Dan, thank you, and that will do it for us today. I'm Chris Stewart. Denver 7 News at 5 starts right now.
These charges were false from the beginning.
Charges dropped for the husband accused of murdering his wife, Suzanne.
He wants to know where Suzanne Murphy is.
Murder charges have been dropped against Barry Morphew just a week before trial was to begin.
Rather than proceed forward with a Hail Mary, so to speak, they're opting to dismiss.
Plus, a big step toward rebuilding. County cleanup work finally begins for victims of the Marshall Fire.
It's hard to see everything hauled away, but at the same time, this will move us forward.
And RTD joins the majority when it comes to masks, while the governor pushes the president to get more kids protected from coronavirus.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Shannon Ogden.
Good evening. I'm Ann Trujillo. And first tonight, charges have been dropped against Barry Morphew for the murder of his wife, Suzanne.
Suzanne went missing nearly 2 years ago. Her body has never been found. Denver 7's Colette Bordelon has been covering this case from the very beginning and joins us live in Fremont County.
And Colette, prosecutors can refile charges.
Yeah, all of those charges can be refiled, but essentially that depends on if the prosecution gets the evidence they think they need to take this to trial. Judging by that motion filed today, that evidence could actually be finding Suzanne's body. They think they know where she is, but that she's covered by feet of snow right now. Barry Morphew and his daughters walked out of the courtroom today smiling. His daughters told the courtroom they want to know what happened to their mom, but they don't think their dad had anything to do with it. Suzanne's family also spoke, saying they agree with the decision to drop the charges. The prosecution had two reasons for filing this motion today. One, hoping they'll find Suzanne. And two, because most of their expert witnesses were not going to be allowed to testify at the trial, which was set for the end of April. Prosecutors chose not to speak with us today, but the defense had a lot to say.
And any investigation that has come from the prosecution since he was arrested points in every direction other than to Mr. Morphew. They absolutely dismissed this case at this point because they knew they were going to lose this trial and Mr. Morphew was going to be acquitted and exonerated.
Now, of course, Suzanne last seen on Mother's Day in 2020 in Chaffee County.
Everything is riding on whether her body is found or if there's other critical evidence found that will allow this case then to be refiled.
Yeah, and I actually spoke with an attorney who's not working on this case. He told me if prosecutors had any particulars about where Suzanne's body actually is right now, that they might have just asked for a continuance, pushing the trial a couple of days or months instead of dismissing all of those charges. Now, he also tells me even though the defense seems very confident like they did at that press conference you just saw a snippet of, he says he would still have some nerves if he were in their shoes.
All right.
Is you feel like you've effectively won. The prosecution has dismissed the case, but now you kind of have this rain cloud following you around wherever you go. If you're the defense, wondering, are they going to find anything? Is something going to pop up?
He tells me those charges can essentially be filed again at any point in time, but the prosecution may have to explain why this wasn't tried in a timely fashion. Live in Canyon City, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
All right, Colette, thank you very much for that.
Tonight, there will be a town hall in Aurora led by the company that's in charge of addressing issues within the city's police and fire departments. Colorado's Attorney General is giving the city's police and fire departments 2 years to make changes after uncovering patterns of violating civil rights, using excessive force, and showing bias toward people of color. We will be at tonight's meeting and we will bring you the latest on Denver 7 News at 10.
Boulder County Sheriff's Office believes a woman started today's grass fire that burned dangerously close to homes. And they say that woman, who they did not identify, lives in the area where this began. This is just south of Twin Lakes. Firefighters went door to door today to evacuate some of the families there. All of those evacuation orders have now been lifted. No buildings burned. Crews estimates this caused about $5,000 to $10,000 damage, and deputies are not revealing how the suspect may have started the fire. Charges are pending. And that fire, of course, comes 3.5 months after the Marshall fire.
And today, cleanup work finally began for those victims who opted into the county debris program. Our Denver 7's Patrick Perez was there as crews began removing debris from the Sagamore neighborhood. And Patrick joins us now live from Superior.
So, Patrick, homeowners tell you, though it is just a first step, this is a big step. This is a relief.
Yeah, relief, because this took a long time to begin, Shannon, and there was even a delay because of a lawsuit. But the homeowner I spoke with today tells me that whatever happens here within this next year will help her and others determine whether they rebuild or they just end up moving on. Cleanup has finally begun in Superior's Sagamore neighborhood more than 3 months since the Marshall Fire destroyed hundreds of homes in Boulder County.
It's hard to see everything hauled away, but at the same time, this will move us forward to accepting what happened.
Brenda Layton lost her home on the southern end of the neighborhood on that unforgettable day.
It hits you in the gut every time you come here and look at the destruction, of your home and all your personal possessions.
She walked us around her lot and showed us what's still standing as she waits her turn for the cleanup crews to make their way here.
This is my garage, and my entry to my house was right about here.
Like many, she opted into the private property debris removal program, which is mostly funded by FEMA. U.S. Senator Michael Bennet, who toured the cleanup efforts Tuesday, says the county is off to a good start.
This is never fast enough, never as easy as it should be, but they're doing the hard work here, and I know we'll get it done.
The cleanup will likely take 4 months to complete, and at its height will have 30 crews working across the county.
I know the residents have been waiting for this, and we want to do everything we can to get them back into their neighborhoods and their communities as quickly as possible.
Once it's all over, Brenda will decide then what she does next.
I think people are hoping we move forward now, and honestly, I don't think any of us can do it with how it looks right now.
Whether she rebuilds or puts her lot up for sale, both options will require a lot more patience. So while cleanup began here in Superior and in Marshall, expect crews to show up next week in Louisville. It takes about 3 to 5 days to clean up each home. For now, we're live in Superior. I'm Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
I'm sure it can't happen quickly enough for them. Thank you, Patrick. A new report released today found the Suncor refinery contributes a large portion of forever chemicals, or what's also known as PFAS, into Sand Creek and the South Platte River. The study by the environmental group Earth Justice used Suncor data to discover the refinery contributes nearly 50% of the PFAS pollution into Sand Creek. Suncor also contributed nearly 20% of PFAS pollution into the South Platte. So the group now wants CDPHE to step in.
What they can do is make Suncor's permit stronger by strengthening the PFAS limits and by requiring more frequent monitoring at more outfalls, not just the one outfall, and by having a strict compliance timeline so that Suncor has to reduce PFAS as soon as possible to protect our drinking water.
Again, those PFAS, they are most commonly used in firefighting foam and nonstick pans, and they can cause negative health effects. Colorado is currently in the process right now of reviewing Suncor's water permits.
UNICEF says the situation's growing even more dire for those in Ukraine. Access to clean water and food growing more scarce as Russia intensifies its attacks on the eastern part of that country. Now, at a steel plant in Mariupol, the city council says there are at least 1,000 civilians seeking shelter there, women, children, the elderly. Ukraine says troops in Mariupol still refusing to surrender to Russia's troops. And the UN tonight estimates nearly 5 million Ukrainians have fled since the invasion began. Well, new tonight, the Department of Justice says it will wait to appeal a Florida judge's ruling that ended the transportation mask mandate.
The DOJ says the mask order remains necessary for public health, but it wants to wait for an official ruling from the CDC. The CDC was set to extend the mask mandate through May 3rd. If they believe that extension is necessary, then the DOJ will appeal the ruling. And today, RTD announced it is lifting the mask requirement on trains and buses. Employees and riders are still encouraged to wear masks for their own health and safety. Also, we learned that Lyft has now joined Uber in dropping its mask policy for both drivers and riders.
Governor Polis is urging the president to move quicker on authorizing a safe vaccine for children younger than 5. In a letter to the White House today, the governor says there are, quote, there are more than 250,000 children in Colorado younger than 5 who remain at risk to this pandemic. And Polis added that the vaccine will give parents more peace of mind and help put this pandemic behind us. Well, still ahead on Denver 7 News at 5, a big step for Denver's marijuana industry.
A new dispensary is now open as the state pushes for equity among owners.
Also, a unique Colorado program helping a mother take care of her 6 kids with special needs while also getting help from the state.
Though our needs are different than the typical family, that we're a family just the same.
And there's about to be a new pup roaming Littleton Public Schools to bring a little joy to students.
All right, congratulations. Welcome to the team, buddy. Good job.